Some of the smartest PMP candidates still lose points on governance questions, not because they do not understand project management, but because governance is one of the most easily misread topics on the exam. You think you know who should make the decision, you pick what feels reasonable, and you get it wrong. Because the PMP exam is not asking what you would do, it is asking who has the authority to do it. In this video, I'll break down the governance trap, who decides what, when escalation is the correct answer, and a practice question built to expose the mistake most candidates make. Let's get into it. Project governance is the framework that defines how decisions are made, who has authority to make them, and how the project is held accountable. 3 things the exam tests: defined roles and responsibilities, who plays what role; decision-making authority and escalation paths, who approves what; oversight mechanisms, how the project is monitored by stakeholders beyond the PM. Governance is not bureaucracy. It is the structure that makes decisions traceable, accountable, and consistent, and it is one of the most consistently tested PMP topics. Here is the governance trap that catches strong candidates. On the exam, the PM is presented as a capable, decisive figure, and candidates assume the PM should act decisively in every scenario. They pick the option where the PM makes the decision personally. That is often the wrong answer. PMI is clear. The PM has defined authority, and decisions beyond that authority must be escalated to the right governance body. The sponsor approves business case changes. The Change Control Board approves baseline changes. The PMO sets organizational standards. The PM coordinates and recommends, but does not unilaterally decide what is outside their defined scope of authority. Knowing what the PM cannot decide is half the exam. This distinction is tested directly. Governance is the framework, the rules, roles, and authority structures. It says, scope changes above $100,000 require sponsor approval. The Change Control Board includes these specific roles. The steering committee meets monthly. Governance defines the structure. It does not execute work. Management is the execution, planning sprints, assigning tasks, monitoring progress, leading the team. The PM is primarily responsible for management. The sponsor, steering committee, and other governance bodies are responsible for governance. On the exam, scenarios about rules, authority, or approval point to governance. Scenarios about planning or executing work point to management. 5 governance roles tested on the exam. The sponsor owns the business case, approves funding, provides strategic direction. Strategic questions go to the sponsor. The steering committee provides cross-functional oversight on larger projects, approving major changes, resolving cross-organizational issues. The PMO, Project Management Office, sets standards, methodology, and portfolio alignment. Methodology and tailoring decisions involve the PMO. The Change Control Board approves changes that exceed the PM's authority threshold. The PM handles day-to-day execution within their defined authority. Decisions outside that authority are escalated through the chain. Knowing which role decides what is the heart of the governance trap. Decision authority is defined by thresholds, documented in the project charter or governance plan. Within the PM's authority, routine team assignments, daily operational decisions, minor schedule adjustments within float, small budget reallocations within authorized contingency, stakeholder engagement decisions. Beyond the PM's authority, requires escalation, budget changes above defined thresholds, scope changes affecting deliverables, schedule changes affecting milestones, strategic direction changes, contract or vendor termination, cross-project resource conflicts. On the exam, is this decision within the PM's authority? If yes, decide, and document. If no, escalate to the appropriate authority. Escalation is one of the most misunderstood topics. Candidates either escalate too much or too little. Both are wrong. Escalation is correct when a decision exceeds the PM's defined authority threshold, an issue affects other projects or requires cross-project coordination, a strategic question changes the business case, or a stakeholder conflict cannot be resolved at the PM's level despite genuine effort. Escalation is wrong when the PM has the authority but lacks confidence, a stakeholder is uncomfortable but no governance threshold is crossed, the PM has not yet attempted resolution. Before selecting an escalation answer, ask, has the PM done what they can do first? If yes, and the issue exceeds their authority, escalate. If not, act first. Governance is not just decisions, it is also monitoring. Steering committee meetings provide periodic review of performance, risk, and strategic alignment. Phase gate reviews, formal go or no-go decisions at major milestones. Each phase must be approved before the next begins. Audits and reviews, quality, financial, process, independent checks that the project is following defined standards. On the exam, when a scenario describes a steering committee, phase gate, or audit, the correct PM response is to support the oversight mechanism, not bypass or minimize it. Agile projects still have governance. The form is different, the function is the same. The product owner has governance authority over scope and priorities, analogous to a sponsor's role on scope in predictive projects. Release planning provides phase gate style oversight. Sprint reviews provide regular oversight of delivered work. Retrospectives provide team-level governance of process. The trap is assuming Agile means no governance. It does not. Governance is lighter, more frequent, and more embedded, but it is still present. The PM in an Agile context still respects the product owner's authority over scope and stakeholders' role in oversight. 3 traps. Trap 1. The PM acts unilaterally on decisions that require governance approval. The exam consistently tests whether the PM respects authority boundaries. Trap 2. Avoiding escalation when it is required. Some candidates assume escalation is weak. PMI views proper escalation as mature project management. Knowing the limits of your authority is a strength. Trap 3. Bypassing governance for speed. A tight deadline does not justify skipping required approvals. Expedited governance, yes. Bypassed governance, never. Let's recap. Governance is the framework of authority, decision-making, and oversight. Management is the execution within that framework. The PM operates within defined authority, not above it. Decisions beyond that authority are escalated. Sponsor for strategic and business case questions, CCB for baseline changes, PMO for standards and methodology, steering committee for cross-functional issues. The trap. Assuming the PM has authority they do not have. The exam rewards candidates who recognize the limits of PM authority and respect governance structures. Let's test your governance thinking. Question. During project execution, a key vendor begins missing deliverable deadlines, creating significant schedule risk. The contract value exceeds the project manager's authorized approval threshold. The PM has already addressed the issue with the vendor twice without improvement. What should the project manager do? Option A. Terminate the vendor contract immediately to protect the project schedule. Option B. Continue managing the vendor relationship and accept the resulting schedule slippage. Option C. Document the performance issues, prepare an escalation summary, and present the situation to the sponsor and procurement for a formal decision on the vendor relationship. Option D. Find a replacement vendor and switch without informing the sponsor to avoid alarm. The correct answer is C. This is a textbook governance question. The contract value exceeds the PM's authority. The PM has already attempted resolution at their level, twice. The correct action is to document, prepare a clear escalation summary, and present to the appropriate governance bodies for a formal decision. This respects the authority structure and gives decision makers what they need to act. Why not A? Terminating a contract above the PM's authority threshold is acting outside the PM's authority, exactly the governance trap. Why not B? Accepting the slippage without escalation fails the PM's responsibility to surface significant risks. Why not D? Replacing the vendor without informing the sponsor violates transparency and bypasses governance entirely. C is the only answer that respects governance while moving the issue toward resolution. 3 principles to take away from the governance trap. Respect the authority structure. The PM works within it, not around it. Escalate when required, not when uncertain. Escalation is for decisions beyond your authority, not for decisions you do not want to make. Document the decision path. Every decision and escalation is recorded, making the project's governance traceable and defensible. Get these 3 right, and governance questions on the exam become predictable. That is the governance trap, and exactly how to avoid it on the PMP exam. Respect the authority structure. Escalate when required. Document the path. Subscribe for more PMP exam prep. Next up, another PMP exam trap that most candidates miss. See you in the next video.